Hello, dear friends. Welcome to another true Bible story. Our big idea for today is Jesus was a child like you. Now, we don't know a whole lot about Jesus between the ages of 2 or 3 and age 30. But we do know some things. Mary was Jesus' mother, and his stepfather was a carpenter named Joseph. God was Jesus' father. Joseph, Mary, and Jesus lived in a small village called Nazareth. And the Bible tells us, when he was little, that the child grew and became very strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the love of God was upon him. That's just when he was little bitty. Yes, Jesus was a baby, but you already knew that. And he grew, just like you have grown since you were a baby. Jesus had feelings. He ate and tasted. He went to sleep at night. He did a lot of the same things you do. He played with his brothers and sisters. He played with his friends. He had chores he needed to do every day, and he helped his parents. Every year there was a great big gathering in the city of Jerusalem. It was for the Feast of the Passover. And people came from far and wide to celebrate Passover in Jerusalem. Boy, was it crowded. The people were packed in the city. Jesus' family went every year. But this particular year, Jesus was 12 years old. Most everybody in Nazareth went to the big celebration, and they all traveled together. The journey from Nazareth to Jerusalem was pretty long, and most people walked, but they managed to have a good time. Since everybody knew everybody, during the day, they would all walk together and talk together, and they were always ready to help each other. The children ran from family to family, playing and having a grand time. At night, they camped, fixed supper, and went to sleep. When the Nazareth group finally arrived in Jerusalem, the first thing they did was find a place to camp together. Then, for 7 days, everybody celebrated together. They listened to God's word. They ate special Passover food. They saw people they hadn't seen for a year, and they got all caught up on every piece of news. When the feast time was over, everybody packed up their stuff and headed home to Nazareth. Now Joseph and Mary thought Jesus was playing with his friends, just hanging out with them. And after a full day's journey, when people pitched their camp, Joseph and Mary had not seen Jesus at all. So they went around to each family camp looking for him. Jesus was nowhere to be found. Where could he be? Oh, I think Joseph and Mary thought Jesus was lost in the big crowded city. They turned right around and headed back to Jerusalem. Everyone they met, they asked the same question. Excuse me, have you seen a lost 12-year-old boy? The answer was always the same. No, sorry. All through the city, Mary and Joseph searched for Jesus. For 3 days they searched. They looked and looked and looked everywhere, till finally the only place they hadn't looked was the big, beautiful temple. Joseph and Mary walked into the temple, and I think they probably looked all around. Then they walked further into the temple, and suddenly they were amazed to see their son, Jesus, sitting with all of the temple teachers, listening and asking questions. And all the temple teachers were astonished at Jesus' understanding of God and his answers to their questions. Well, Jesus' parents walked over to where he was sitting, and Mary said, "Oh, son, how could you do this to us? We have been so worried." And Jesus answered, saying, "Oh, why did you seek me? Didn't you know that I must be about my Father's business?" Well, Mary and Joseph didn't understand what Jesus had just said. They didn't understand at all. Well, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus went back home to Nazareth. And time passed, and Jesus grew. He became a carpenter like Joseph. The Bible tells us in Luke that Jesus increased in wisdom as he grew, and he increased in favor with God and with man. Jesus grew up just like you will grow up. He knows how you feel. He knows how you think and what you think. He knows what you do. Jesus was a child like you. Thank you for joining me today. I will be back soon with another true Bible story. I love you. Bye-bye.